Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert184, 2Rs2Bs, gundam.tk, and it is Sunday night, October the 9th, and it's been a 4-year wait since Gundam 00 first aired. And yes, Gundam Age just hit the airwaves in Japan, and hopefully people all over the world have been able to watch that. You may have heard that it was streaming online, so hopefully people were able to catch that in all sorts of different languages. Subbed or dubbed, I don't know how that worked, but anyway, why don't you let me know with a comment down below. Anyway, here's some of my impressions. There was a lot of things I liked, a few things I didn't, but this is designed for people that have seen the episode or people that don't mind hearing about what's in there. And then the most important thing is for you to let me know what you think with a comment down below. I figured I'd start by just sort of walking through the episode, good and bad, and the beginning, when you saw the opening of 00 and all of a sudden there's all this talk in the real war and the flashback, well, here it's going to be pretty similar, except it's a lot cheesier. The first thing I noticed, though, is that the animation quality is really good, especially for the characters. The designs and the clothes and everything about them is designed to look young, but at the same time it's drawn well, good animation, good widescreen, everything about that seems to be pretty good. And the important passing down of the tool that's going to drive the Gundam, and off we go. And didn't we just see that in Unicorn not too long ago? And then you get into the opening theme song, and actually I really like it. It seems to suit this anime. Now music, especially opening themes, that's pretty subjective. Though there weren't too many spoilers in the credits, you do get an idea of which characters are going to become more important as the story goes on. You do get a flash of the Titus and the Sparrow, and yes, the protagonist Frito is running, which we've seen many, many times. But once the episode starts, that's when I think old school Gundam fans are going to at least appreciate the effort they've put in to make it look similar. As you've got Frito running around his room, Haru's there, he's looking at plans, he's obviously mechanical minded, he's eating some toast, and a girl comes and tells him he's got to go somewhere. So fans of First Gundam, it's not exactly the same, but there's enough in there to make you think at least these people are respecting the past. And then as they go and see the professor, the Gundam arm, that was a nice little bit of foreshadowing on the actual yellow worker robot or whatever. The professor was probably some of the things that people were complaining about the most, just how childish it looks like. Looks like something out of a Rockman cartoon from a few years back. But as they go on, you can see that Frito's got that determination, and the one thing I really liked was his seiyuu. The voice actor I thought was fantastic. Despite the young character designs, he's got a little bit of maturity in his voice that belies his age, and the fact that he's building a Gundam and has developed it, and because of that he's missing school and all this stuff like that. It's not unheard of in Gundam with Camille and things like that. I mean, designing the Zeta Gundam. Not unheard of, especially when it runs in your family and you've got all sorts of support from the past. And then, for a 10-year-old kid in Japan today who doesn't know anything about Gundam, looking up and having some fancy butler explain the history as you look at a painting, again, I want to say you probably haven't seen Unicorn Gundam, but hey, if it worked there, I guess it can work here. And the fact that they're acknowledging Gundams in the past, I don't know if they'll address it too much other than just, you know, the way Gundam series, or the way Japanese meta series just sort of reflect history without necessarily tying them all in with a steady set of continuity. But after Frito goes to school, confronts his professor, he says, hey, the bad guys are coming and we've got to deal with this. And as they go for a nice light show, he is proven correct. And then there's no eye-catch music as they cut to commercial. Now the commercials are going to sell you all sorts of good stuff, and they're going to tell you, hey, go to the supermarket, buy the toys, buy this, log in, you can participate, just accumulate points by watching, things like that. But after the break, it's when the actual main part of the action begins. Fans of First Gundam are going to be pretty familiar with 3 mobile suits attacking a colony. Here, they're not identical. It looks like you've got a purple one. I don't know my UE mobile suits, or monsters, if you will, as well as I should, but you've got the Gafran, which comes across as a pretty cool looking villain. The transformation sequence wasn't as clearly laid out as it could have been. It doesn't look like a big transformation. I like their weapons. Their blasters in the hands seemed effective, as did the beam sabers coming out of the palms. Interesting effect, and you've got an old Throne Eins kind of cannon popping over the shoulder. I haven't looked at the model recently enough to see if that happens. But in the end, you can imagine that Frito says, hey, I'm the one who can stop this. I'm going to get into this ready-to-be-tested Gundam. Even though it's not quite ready, it's sort of funny the way the military just lets him. But then again, there have been worse instances in the past in Gundam of kids hopping into the cockpit. Here, at least a few adult authority figures try to stop him, and then realize that because of the determination in his heart, maybe he's the one that can actually change the way things are going. So the professor lets him in. The Genuus, or the Gym, whatever you want to call it, is going to come out. I'm not sure about my pronunciation. Comes out and it came out really blocky-like. It didn't have very smooth animation, or it wasn't flowing. And it gets sent to school, and I like that. They didn't quite explain exactly how powerful the explosions are and whether that's dangerous or not inside the colonies as much as they have in the past. But basically, you do get the idea that there are better pilots out there and that Frito will probably end up leading them out into battle, which is good to see. There was no custom white one, though, in the episode, even though we did see a few. But then, it's the launch sequence. Frito gets inside, slams down that control cog, and then, hey, it's off to the adventure. And they didn't focus too much. Of course, Gundam focuses on the horror of wars. And having Emily there sort of keeps that in mind. Frito is, of course, more excited. He does have a little bit of reflection at the end. But basically, he heads off into the battle, and what weapons do we see? Well, he dodges at the beginning, and then he pulls out the weakest part of the Dodge rifle, it looked like. Didn't look exactly like the toy, but it looked pretty lame. It was completely ineffective, probably the last time we're going to see it in the anime. And then he decides to pull out the beam saber, or the daggers. And I also like how Bright Noah pulled a Setsuna and just says Gundam and not much more. Well, the beam dagger ends up being very effective, cutting through the Gafran, and all of a sudden everybody is saying maybe there's some hope for humanity left yet, and this is our first victory over them. Everybody's pretty happy, especially the control panel. There's enough interesting character designs in that control room that I wonder which ones are going to become main characters and which ones could become ship members and the crew, etc. But in the end, the battle was, I would have to say, it was satisfying in the fact that you get good action, the good graphics, but my big complaint here was just the way the Age 1 normal looked. It looked really poorly drawn in quite a few frames. I don't think that they captured the angles right, the shoulders especially. When you see the model and how straight and angular everything is, when you see it's quite curvy, and the head didn't come across as looking that good when it had its close-up as it gets the rise out of the truck. Not standing up quite under its own power, but still a nice throwback. But it was the animation of the normal one that makes me sort of excited to see whether that's, and a little worried to see if that's going to get better, or if the Titus and Sparrow could pick that up, or do we have to wait for the Age 2 and 3 for this to improve on? So after the defeat, the bad guy leader says, hey, we should get out of here, and all of a sudden, things look up for humanity until there's a big counterattack. And what better way to end an episode with a cliffhanger, leaving you wanting more. The Gundam got out there, it blew up some bad guys, there's more bad guys to come, sets the stage nicely for the second one, and all of a sudden, the episode's over. Frito can only say, Kono, and then the theme music starts. And I have to say, I like the ending more than the opening theme music. The graphics in the background, Frito and Emily, you can see their relationship, how it's going to develop, and how that could be the cause of the second generation. And I thought that the music really suited the visuals and the whole theme of the thing. And I was happy to see that right up until next week's episode, which is where I stopped watching. So I didn't watch the PVs before watching this episode, and I don't think I'll be watching the next week. So I was happy overall with episode 1, and I'm excited, without getting it spoiled, to see where episode 2 is going to take us. So that's a pretty long ramble from me. Not a formal review in any sense, more or less just some of the things that I noticed, good and bad. A little bit of a synopsis for people that are looking to get that early. But why don't you let me know if you've seen this? It's available all over on the internet for those of you that didn't watch it live. And I hope that you have a chance to. I have the high-grade Age 1 normal that you can see here, and I've got a review. I love the model, seeing the show, and the quality of the animation and the character designs. I think they'll grow on you, especially with the seiyus seemingly doing a very good job. So to have the model and the show, and if they're both working in synergy, whether that's the right word or not, I'm pretty encouraged to see what's going to happen with episode 2. Compared to 00, I've got to say it's a step down. This is very much a Legend of Gundam brought to a new generation. I think that was pretty clear throughout the whole episode, including the man explaining at the painting. But I think that's Bandai and Sunrise in the end may have to do in order to get more kids buying models and other tie-ins in the same kind of numbers that they were in the 90s. But that's just me, so why don't you let me know what you think with a comment down below. Stay tuned, I'll be back for episode 2 next week with a reaction, if not something in between, and lots more reviews, news, and everything else. Thanks for watching, everybody. Gundam.tk, good to have you here for a new show, because hey, when there's a lull on, it's a little bit less exciting to be building this kind of stuff, but now there's going to be new kits and an anime to back it up, and it looks pretty solid so far. But that's my subjective opinion. Let me know yours. See you next time, everybody. Alright, kid, I'll give it to you that that first episode wasn't too bad. But you know what it didn't have? Patrick. I wonder if you'll be around long enough to go on adventures with your grandchild.